So, hello, good afternoon to everyone that's currently available at the moment. We are currently starting on the open introduction to open data, tools and techniques for data sharing and collaboration at large. Yeah, okay, okay. Okay, with regards to the session, we'll be basically looking at how we can be able to generate data or scrap data from there. Then we go through the process of knowing how we can be able to use such Wikidata tools, open tools that are available to us for us to be able to know how best that can help us analyze our data, clean our data, transform our data. Then from there, we get to be able to visualize our data after exporting our data. First of all, there are a lot of tools that can be accessed via on the Wikidata platform. So on the Wikidata platform, when you visit a Wikidata page called Wikidata Tools, there are tools that has been categorized into different categories that are able to also help us know how best we can be able to use these kind of tools. When you visit this particular page, there are tools that are available to assist us in terms of editing items, tools that are also able to help us to query data, tools for enhancing user interface, the user interface of Wikidata at large, then tools that are also able to assist us with visualizing data, listing properties, and tools for programmers and non-Wikidata tools at large. But today we are just going to focus on too much. Today we are just going to focus on only two tools. One from the okay, one from okay, one from the editing items tool, which is OpenRefine, and another visualization tool called We Do Data Science. That's it. Okay. Okay, it shows. If you can view it. Okay, perfect. So, with the OpenRefine tool, I'm just going to give a short presentation about that. Then, from based on the presentation, we'll look at the procedures in which we can be able to download, install, and how we can be able to also use the OpenRefine tool for our data analysis. From there, then we use we do data science to be able to also visualize the tool. So let's go back to the slides. So I didn't really introduce myself, and my full name is Jarvis Darlington Kwashi. I'm a data scientist and also a community lead for the African Wikimedia technical community, which is also trying at best to be able to recruit technical contributors within Africa at large. So my email is associated with the slide. In case of anything, you can feel free then get in touch. So with the introduction, first of all, what is OpenRefine? People do not actually know what OpenRefine is about. So it's basically a tool for data cleaning and transforming data. Data that is a bit messy, data that needs a lot of improvements, data that needs improvements for people to be able to understand the data when they do even pick these kind of data sets. Data that can be accessed to or can be transformed in order to make meaningful sense to people who do take the data but do not come from a data or a data background. Now, OpenRefine, why do we use OpenRefine? So to clean messy data, as I already said, to also be able to help us to merge and aggregate data for based on the kind of research or based on the kind of problem that we do just want to solve. So it is free and it's open. It is also available for anyone to use. There isn't any subscription attached to it. It's also have a community-driven project, which makes it easier for people to also reach out to other OpenRefine users that need assistance in order for them to be able to use that tool. Yes, so with regards to OpenRefine, people within these kind of specialties that normally do use OpenRefine, such as data scientists, researchers, journalists, students, data enthusiasts, librarians, and information specialists, then government and public sector workers, right? Everyone can be able to use OpenRefine. Good. So with the process of getting your OpenRefine software downloaded, installed, first, we have to go through the process of downloading the OpenRefine 2. In order for us to be able to download the OpenRefine 2, we can be able to visit the OpenRefine web page or directory based on the kind of specification, kind of operating system that you do have. After visiting the site and clicking on the download button, you can just feel free to be able to download your tool. So when we look here, we can be able to see that we do have applications that are available for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux at large. So based on the operating system that you do use, you feel free to download any of the operation systems. Now, after downloading the software, we move back onto how we can be able to install the software. So with regards to re-downloading the software and also installing the software, we have to be able to also run the software. Then after we've been able to install the software and run the application for it to open for us to create a project, then we can be able to start creating a project. I'm definitely going to show a short tutorial about how to be able to go through this whole procedure that I've stated so far. So in order to start a project too, you have to click on the create button. You'll be prompted to select a data from the source. I'll also take you through some of the platforms that you can be able to get data to work on the using OpenRefine at large. Then after selecting the data source from your computer or your URL, you feel free to paste it or upload your data onto OpenRefine to create a project. And in terms of creating the project too, you give a name to the project. Now, so this is a short video that I want everyone to watch in terms of downloading, installing, and creating and starting a project with OpenRefine as a whole. So based on the device that the person is currently using, we can be able to notice that the person is using a Windows device or operating system, which helps him to be able to download the software and create a project in order for the person to be able to know how to navigate his way around the OpenRefine 2 at large. Okay, so let me stop at this side. Okay, so if you're new and you do have a device that you feel that you want to download and install OpenRefine at the moment, you can just feel free and download and install the OpenRefine application. But if I have to continue to, I can continue from this aspect. Shall I continue? Okay, so I'm moving on. Now, in order for us to be able to explore the data, you first have to import the data. Now, there are some tools that, there are some pages that can be able to also help us to import or to be able to find data that can be able to also help us to generate data sets or guess data sets that we can be able to work on. So, for instance, let's use data.worldbank. Okay. When we visit data.worldbank, we can be able to get some data sets based on the categories on the resource aspects. So let's visit data bank. Okay. 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 Or we can feel free then use data.gov. Good. So at data.gov, let's choose most view data sets. Okay. So as we can see, there are different kinds of data sets that are currently available that can be able to also help us to select the data that is much more of an interest to us and also know which kind of data that we do want to work on. So let's select, let's try and find the data that is much more recent. And that's, okay. Okay, auto sales. Okay. 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 Oh, sorry, this is the landing page. Okay. Okay. So CSV file. Okay. So whilst our data is being downloaded, we can continue. So when our data is being imported, we can find ways and means to explore our data. In terms of exploring our data, we can be able to sort out, filter out the data that is being needed in terms of trying to clean the data that is currently available. And based on that, we can be able to discover some missing data or some missing information that in terms of filtering and also sorting out these data, we can be able to aggregate the data at large, then know how best we can be able to also bring meaning into the data that we are currently working on. So from there, we can also continue to transform the data. In terms of transforming the data, okay. In terms of also transforming the data, as I already stated, cleaning the data, the messy data that is currently available, then also using OpenRefine to be able to also find matches that relates to Wikidata items that are currently available on Wikidata or Wikimedia Commons based on the reconciliation. We can be able to also use OpenRefine to also navigate around or know how best we can be able to link the data sets that we've already generated and uploaded onto OpenRefine to explore this data, then help us to be able to match our data together with the data that is currently available on Wikidata at large. So in terms of the reconciliation process too, you can be able to have multiple data sets or data sources that contain the same data. So based on that, we can be able to also use Open Refine in terms of using the reconciliation tab to also merge these kind of data together, then know how best we can be able to also do generate one specific data. And also there are a number of tools for merging and also aligning the data that is currently available through the multiple sources that we do generate the data from. Now, I want to walk you guys through some two tutorials that we can also try our hands on. Okay, so this is the first tutorial. We can just listen to this tutorial. Then when we are done listening to this tutorial, I give you some few minutes to try your hands on it.
Matching it with Wikidata items, and uploading the information as statements on these items. No previous knowledge of OpenRefine is necessary to follow this tutorial, but some familiarity with Wikidata will help. All the links necessary to follow the tutorial can be found in the description of the video. So let's get started. OpenRefine is free software that you can download on openrefine.org. Once you have installed it, it runs in your browser like this. In this tutorial, we are going to import data about shooting locations of films in Paris. The dataset we are going to work on is available on the Parisian Open Data portal, and we can download it as a CSV file. We can just copy the URL of that file and paste that in OpenRefine. We now have a preview of the table, and we are happy with this format, so we give a name to the project and we create it. The first step to import this data in Wikidata is to match the film names with the Wikidata items they correspond to. Click on the column that contains the names of the entities that you want to match and choose Reconcile, Start Reconciling. Pick the Wikidata reconciliation service. OpenRefine tries to guess the type of entity these names correspond to. In our case, its best guess is film, which looks appropriate. OpenRefine will only consider instances of that class or subclasses of it when looking for matches. OpenRefine also lets you match on other properties stored in other columns of the table. In our case, the réalisateur column contains the name of the film director, which is very useful for disambiguation. So take that column and select the Wikidata property that it should be matched against. Click Start Reconciling and wait for the process to complete. Now that reconciliation is done, some names have turned into blue links which point to the corresponding Wikidata items. Others were not matched, for instance because the director did not match in the case of this Nadia film. Some of the films were not matched because Wikidata does not know who their director is. If you have time, you can go through these unmatched cells and manually reconcile them, but you can also leave them as they are. These rows will just be ignored in the import. On the left-hand side, you can see two facets. These can be used to filter rows based on their matching status and matching score. You can select rows where matching succeeded by clicking on the matched status. It is important that you check the quality of these automatic matches, and there are many ways to do this. In our case, the table contains the dates of the shootings, so we can compare that to the release date of the movies and check that they are consistent. Click on the Reconcile column, pick Edit column, Add column from reconciled values, and select Date of publication. We will now create a column that will contain the difference between the publication date and the end of shooting date. Click on the end of shooting column. Pick Edit column, Add column based on this column. The language used for the expression here is called GREL. It is a simple language that you can learn.
Okay, so based on where we've gotten to, for those who have devices at the moment, if you can be able to go through this whole procedure with me, then that would be much more better. And in order for us to be able to acquire data, we can just feel free, then go to data.org, data.gov, then try to find any data that's currently available that we can feel free to be able to explore the data that are currently available. So any data that's currently available, you can just feel free then download that data at the moment for us to be able to run the data that we download using OpenRefine, then know how best we can be able to also follow this tutorial to explore it at large. So based on the time that is currently left, I'm just going to give you guys 10 minutes to work on this, then we continue from there. But if you do have any questions or if you do need any clarifications too, you can just raise up your hand, then or visit the microphone over there to ask your questions.
So we're downloading
Yes.
playing with some data.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, at the moment. However, if you don't have any device to at the moment and you also want to follow what I just want to work on to, you can just feel free, then follow. Okay. So since I already do have the OpenRefine installed, I'm just going to open my OpenRefine, then try to get the data that I just downloaded to be able to also explore the data at large. Okay, so cross-country entry. Okay. Okay, let me try and get another data. So, okay, let me load this data. Okay, so if you do encounter any issue, just feel free to raise up your hand for an assistance. Wow. No. Okay, can we continue?
Is there like a data set you're going to be using? Because like I'm getting a bit overwhelmed with pick anything data docker. So like, is there one you're going to use?
Okay, so
Can you make the screen a bit bigger as well?
yeah. I mean, okay, I think that's the okay, control. Okay, so okay, is it okay now? Perfect. Okay. Okay, so based on the data that I already have at the moment, we've been able to reconcile some of the information within some of the columns that are currently available. So based on that, we can be able to also check if the Wikidata items that are currently available are really related, right, to the data that we are trying to reconcile. So if they are really, they do really match, then we can be able to also reconcile it at the moment. Then click on the match just with the first tick to be able to match those two data or match this data to the data that is currently available on Wikidata at large. But if it doesn't match, then we just click on the two data, these two ticks that are currently available so that we can be able to unmatch it as large. Now, what I just want to take you guys through this column is just to know how to be able to also split this into several fields. So based on that too, we can be able to also, based on the split dots that we just want to split it into, we can be able to also split that column. If we want to break it into two or split the data that we have at the moment into several, so let's say 5, then it can be. So currently we have 66 data that's currently available within the column that we, for the human label column, that can be matched with the Wikidata items, and 29 of them cannot be found at the moment. So we can just review the 66 that are currently available, then try and match the data that is available on Wikidata based on that. After reviewing that, then we can be able to also feel free to export the data that we do have. So in terms of exporting the data to based on the formats that you do want to export the data, whether it being a CSV, HTML file, or an Excel sheet, based on the file formats that you just want to use, you feel free to download the data that you've been able to explore, then transform at large. So let's download this into a CSV file. So data. So data FH. So once we do have this particular data, then we can be able to also visit redo data science to be able to also try and generate some visualizations based on the data that we've been able to work on or transform at the moment. So in order to be able to also use redo data science, it's just a platform that can be able to also help us to navigate our data, to be able to explore our data much more and generate insights or generate visualizations that can be able to make meaningful, that can be much more meaningful to people to, or for collaborators to be able to also understand the data that they do find. So with this platform, you are just going to just create visualizations that we do have at the moment. And in order for us to be able to do that, we can just copy everything that is in the CSV file, then just paste it here, or we can just click on upload, then upload the file that we did find on OpenRefine, that we did just download. We just downloaded from OpenRefine. Good. So based on that, based on the columns that we do want to select, you can feel free then select the column 1 and column 2 to be able to match the data that is currently available. And in order to be able to also do that too, so let's say we are using X for column 1, which should be the data. Let's check the data that we have at the moment. Okay. So the column 1 should be the human, and column 2 should be a human label. So based on that, if there is a way, or if we can be able to draw insights on the columns that we do have at the moment, then we should be able to know how, or if we want to visualize this data, then we should be able to know how best we can be able to also relate the data that is currently available. So in order to be able to also do that, the Wikidata item that is currently available, let's say if, for instance, we do have, with regards to gender, we do have 10 females and 5 males. Based on that, we can be able to also use that to be able to also visualize our data. So for instance, if X as for the males that is currently available, we can be able to also use the X column to be able to also match the gender. Then the number of gender that is currently available, we use the Y column to also match the number of gender that is currently available for both genders at the moment. Okay. So since this data is available, let's try and group. Okay. Okay, good and fine. Let me try and change the date. So. Okay. Sorry. Let me watch this data. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So let's try and see if you can be able to get a data to make much more meaningful insights onto this data than try to visualize it a little bit. Okay. Okay. Okay, good to go. Now, choose that. That's good. Item. Okay, the data is 5. Okay, let me aggregate it to just 5 rows. Export it to CSV. Okay, so hopefully, so let's export another data. Okay, okay, change data. Okay,
Do you have a sample data set?
yes, so that's what I'm trying to,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
get. So the column, okay. Okay, well, that's all are 20, so all of them will be on the same line. Then let's say 1, 2. Okay. Okay. So with the first, in terms of exploring our data, with the first 5 rows, it just tells us about the columns that we do have. So based on that, we can find the Wikidata links associated to the names that's associated with the column 1. So the column 1 tells us about the labels that are currently available. When we visit Wikidata at large, then based on the gender currently available for if P1, P20 related to the gender, it tells us if it's P21 too, we can be able to classify or know the gender that is currently associated with a Wikidata item. Then from there, I wanted to explore a data that was much more easier to be able to visualize, but I am unable to find this data. Okay. Two numeric value variables. Okay. Let me try and see if I can find a better data online. So let's say that's good. Okay. So okay. Okay. So I also convert it to CSV. Then let me get another data rather. Okay. so comments. Converts JSON. JSON to, let me visit. Okay, cargo. I think I can get some better data at cargo. Okay. Okay, so archive. Okay, so tobacco. Let me move this to download. Very good. So let's visit. Okay, so upload file. Good. Now, okay, so I think we can work with this data at the moment. Yeah, so with this data, it tells us about the status, the number of tobacco of TB patients with non-tobacco usage, then with also the percentile with regards to the tobacco with patients known for tobacco usage based on the status that we do have available. So based on the percentiles that are currently available, we can be able to also navigate around that and see. Then it provides us with a statistical overview to be able to also understand the data that is available. So we can be able to also sort out about for the mean, the median, then yeah, then the maximum at large. Then based on this particular tool, we can be able to come out with some statistical values that can be able to also help us to express the data that we do have available. Okay. And with this, based on the data that we do have, it can be able to also help us to know the level at which each column does provide us with regards to the data that we do find available. Okay. So let me try and conclude with this session. So as I also spoke earlier with regards to the reconciliation process in terms of using OpenRefine, in terms of relating or matching our data sets with regards to the data that we do download, explore, and try to transform these data these data sets that we normally do find. We can be able to also match them in terms of reconciling them with Wikidata items, or even with images or with even media files that we do find on Wikimedia Commons at large. And in order to be able to also do that, it can be able to also help us to enrich the Wikimedia projects that we do find at large. Then with regards to the expressions are basically the some form of like a mathematical equation or a value that can be able to also help us to generate statistical value or add statistical values to our data. So based on that, it can be able to also help us to calculate for new values, come up with a sum of some columns to be able to also add certain values that we do find in the data sets that we normally do come up with, then also perform more complex calculations at large. So with regards to this, I've already spoken about that. Then in terms of you exploring your data sets too, if you do have any kind of if you do encounter any situation or issue in terms of navigating your way around OpenRefine 2, you can just feel free to visit any of the links that are being provided above. So through the documentation process, it can be able to also guide you then and to be able to understand the how to use the OpenRefine tool at large. And aside that, to through the Telegram channel that is currently available to all users of OpenRefine too. We can be able to also feel free then communicate or any issue pertaining or OpenRefine that we also do find uh, or we also do encounter. With regards to the GitHub, we can be able to also find more tutorials on GitHub that know how best we can be able to also learn more in terms of using OpenRefine at large. Okay, so you can also feel free to visit the Wikidata tools page to explore much more tools and try and understand much more tools that can be able to also help you know how best you can be able to also use the tools on Wikidata at large to enhance Wikidata than other Wikimedia projects at large. So I would like to conclude by saying that OpenRefine is a powerful tool that we can be able to also play around with to be able to also clean our data sets, then also try to generate much more meaningful insight into the data that we do come up with. At this moment, if there are more questions or if you need any clarification concerning what we've just gone through, you can feel free then let me know. However, too, if anything comes up in your mind after the session, you can feel free to visit any of the platforms that I shared with you earlier. It could be the Telegram channel or the forum on OpenRefine at large to communicate your discussions on these particular platforms. So you can feel free and ask your questions. If there isn't any question to you, we can be able to close. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, so with regards to, let me go to the slide for you to understand. So with regards to you getting your data to be able to also align with Wikidata, right? I think the video will be much more helpful for you to understand.
Welcome to this tutorial series on using OpenRefine to import data into Wikidata. My name is Antonin, and I'm going to walk you through the entire process once you have it running. Pick the Wikidata reconciliation service. Now, the start reconcile contains the names of the entities that The first step to import this data in Wikidata is to match the film names with the Wikidata items they correspond to. Click on the column that contains the names of the entities that you want to match and choose Reconcile, Start Reconciling. Pick the Wikidata reconciliation service. OpenRefine tries to guess the type of entity these names correspond to. In our case, its best guess is film, which looks appropriate. OpenRefine will only consider instances of that class or subclasses of it when looking for matches. OpenRefine also lets you match on other properties stored in other columns of the table. In our case, the réalisateur column contains the name of the film director, which is very useful for disambiguation. So take that column and select the Wikidata property that it should be matched against. Click Start Reconciling and wait for the process to complete.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so since my time is up, if there aren't any questions, always feel free to communicate on the forum or join the Telegram group to communicate more and get to learn much more about OpenRefine than how we can be able to enhance our data at large. Thank you.